I think we're good to go. And first of all, I'd like to thank Anand for making the time for this session to take up this session. And Anand is an is a VP at Nexus Venture Partners, and it's like not every day that you get an investor himself to come down and tell you how to make fundable products, right? So if all of you who are listening now and all of you who will be watching this later on, if you have any questions and anything that you want to know about how to uh, take your um, take your hackathon project to a product and then to a fundable product, this is going to be a gold mine for you. So with that, I'd like to hand over the stage to Anand to speak more about how you can go about taking your products from zero to one.
No, thank you so much, Denver, and thanks to you and Shakti for doing this dev folio and InOut. It's a very nice initiative, and I hope that a lot of builders actually take it up and benefit from it. It's a great thing for the ecosystem overall. So thanks for having me here. I'll introduce myself briefly, but I just wanted to set up the discussion with the question and correcting the question itself. I think the question should never be how to make a fundable product. I think this is a cliche, and a lot of the investors, a lot of experienced people will say always aim to create sustainable companies or sustainable businesses. uh, Products are a part of it. Products are the most key part of it, and that's how you build the business around it. But the idea should not be about building fundable product, but idea should be around solving some pain point, making some difference in the world for which people will pay. As they say, the best fund is the one which comes from customer and not from the investor. If there is an opportunity to get the funding from customer, then the investors will just follow. But obviously I understand, have been an entrepreneur myself, that getting the capital, having that stability is as much as important as other things. So we'll talk about what are the things about creating a sustainable business which could attract capital as part of many other things that you need to do that. So these are all different pieces of the same puzzle. So, as I said, let's start with our introduction. I would like to introduce, I don't know if the next slide is visible. Yeah. I'd like to introduce both Nexus as well as myself. I work with Nexus, which is one of the largest VC funds, actually, the largest homegrown VC fund in India. If you talk about whether it's a entity from another countries or an international VC fund versus whether it has just grown up organically within India. It's probably one of the largest homegrown VC funds. As you will see, I specifically have pulled out some of the logos which are very focused on dev product B2B centric companies. Does not necessarily mean we have a lot of consumer companies such as an academy, such as Zomato, such as Shopclues, Snapdeal, multiple of them. So White Hat Junior, so to say, and the idea is always that we partner very early. Typically, the first institutional investor at the seed round or at what you say Series A round and other such rounds. We tend to be long-term partners. We always try to be with the company for the longest time. We try to take the company through the journey, handhold them. We are a cross-border team. We act as a single team. We work. There are multiple funds where you'll see that the team is out in India and there is team out in US, but we work as the single team. And then we have a product first approach and a bottoms up thinking with entrepreneur. We do not go for a sector scan, and we do not go for what you call as a top down approach where you will identify, let's say right now edtech is hot and we want to go for edtech. That's not how you will go. My own background is more a builder all my life as well. have come on the investment side like just a year back. Before that, I was running an insurtech company. I joined them as the India CEO back in 2016, and post that, I was with them for a couple of years in as the heading the Asia growth, Asia and their growth, other growth geographies over there. I was a founding team member in this startup called Magic Pin. Post that, I had started up on my own, and ironically enough, I could not raise funding for that, and then but a lot of learning coming in the way from there. Originally, I had started my career as a strategy consultant with this company called Bain and Company. I was with them for most of the time in Delhi and some years in the Valley, where I picked up a lot of learning from working with clients over there. So jumping right into the topic, and will what I'll do is that I'll just cover some of the key points and maybe touch it for 15-20 minutes, and then jump into discussions and have questions. And I know that I could see some anxious faces or angry faces after we talked about some of the investment. Happy to take questions. Not no nobody about that. So the key question when you try to solve for a problem, like try to create a big business. As I talked about, the key question is not whether the product is fundable or not, but the key question which Peter Thiel puts very very well in this book called Zero to One is there something which you know about the market which no one else like agrees with you? So do you have, and generally large companies are built on this contrarian quotient. Like if you ask anybody that the the biggest payment company in the world is going to be something which is will be built out of e-commerce or something where PayPal will be created. Anybody would have said that no at that time, or right now can there be a public private company which can take people to space? People would have said no, but there were people who like Musk who were ready to believe in that, and that creates a large value. So and there are multiple ways this happens. There can be something which can be happening in US, and you can see that hey, that's happening in India. US, why it's not happening in India? Or it can be just bottoms up thinking, something like a UPI which is making so much change over here, that why isn't this thing here? Why is nobody doing interbank operability? Let's just do it in India. So but the key is there, that have you identified a challenge, or have you been part of an equation which you think the others are not able to see, but it's so crystal clear to you that you want to actually go and solve it. And once you start doing that, that's something which creates an insight, which creates an ability to create a very, very large outcome. Now, there are multiple ways of doing that, right? And I know that it's not that many times you might be right now thinking that like we have gone to the hackathon, we have seen this multiple tailwinds coming. There are different things which facilitate that coming. So like till for example, I know that very recently we were doing the national health stack hackathon. Again, I think Shakti was involved in that. So once that sort of an infra thing comes, what are the things which surface up? Or for example, when cloud came, or when internet came, or when this entire mobile phones and the increased processing power with a very high connectivity came on people's hand, every time in the ecosystem there will be some major change like that, there will be some major tailwind like that, there will be contrarian questions or contrarian answers which will be thrown out, where like nobody will be able to see, like nobody will be able to visualize the solution the way you are able to. Like when Travis would have been seeing Uber's solution, like none of the earlier generation could have, because nobody had a smartphone, nobody had the connectivity. But once, even when the smartphone and the connectivity came, I'm pretty sure in some years somebody would have seen that. But at that point, Travis was able to see that and say that, okay, this is how the transportation problem, there is where the problem is. It's so now when we see that, hey, this is so intuitive that it should be on demand, somebody should be able to come. I should not have to go to a particular junction, wait out for some other taxi to come and then pick it up. So that's the contrarian question, that given the current ecosystem, given the current infrastructure, are you able to see something or visualize some problem statement or a way to solve that problem statement which nobody else can? Always start with that starting point. And if it is something which you are related to, so for example, if developers, there are certain dev tools you are seeing, that's how Postman got created, or one of our founders of Index, he was like, like there is this cool tool which I'm using because there is another developer who is creating this cool tool which he himself has been facing a problem on, because this API somebody else will create, you will use the API. If on the go you're not testing it, you will face a problem. So that's the other guy who is creating a solution for himself, and he had a deep insight on, and then that's where problem statement was picked up, and that's where a company gets started creating. So my net down arrow from this slide or this point is that always make it a starting point. Don't go by like, right now ed tech is hot and you'll see what is happening in the ed tech, and then or you will see that XYZ food tech is hot, everybody should be doing food delivery. If you go by that, that will not be a contrarian question. There will be a few companies which will obviously get created out of, because some people would have seen that solution and the solution is needed, but it's not necessary they just running with the herd over there will create your company. Your company should come out from your own contrarian question, something which you have felt very dearly about, some challenge which you have faced, or where you have a very very unique insight. I'm dwelling a lot on this slide because this is literally the anchor through which you should start while you are thinking about your startup. If I relate to my mistake when I was an entrepreneur, I started with the point that fintech is super hot. Everybody is funding fintech. We are three guys from IIT, IIM, Bain, all the pedigree, tick, tick, tick. I will go create a lending. My company was called Loan Social. I'll create a lending platform. Every left, right, and center matrix is funding this, Nexus is funding this, Lightspeed is funding this. Why won't my company get funded? And that's the question you come with. But then I realized when I was in the market, I was late by probably 2 months. Every fund has funded something, they have taken some bet, and I was like, I do not have any other unique insight to bring to the table to tell the funds also that this is why you should be funding me and not XYZ. And you do not want to be over there. You want to have a unique insight which will help you create a product. Now, coming to, is there a structure by which you can actually identify a startup idea, right? Like many people say कि यार बहुत ज्ञान दे रहे हो आप मतलब फाइनली कहाँ से यूनिक इंसाइट लाएंगे और किस किस जगह से आएंगे, लाइक सोचने का भी कोई तरीका हो सकता है कि कैन देयर बी द वे बाय विच यू कैन थिंक अबाउट कि हाँ स्टार्टअप आइडिया बनेगा कैसे. तो मतलब देते हैं यार VCs का भी मतलब अपना कंस्ट्रेंट्स होता है. I will not say that constraint नहीं होता है, but the way I want to think about it, if I were to go back and think about now about my startup कि मैं idea कैसे सोचूंगा, there is this very very good book called Competing Against Luck. I'll ask you everybody to read this. I actually have this next to me because I thought I'll show you. I don't know if you can see this. This is how it looks. This guy's name is Clayton M. Christensen. He's a Harvard prof. Very theoretical this thing, but there is one chapter which you guys should pick it up. अगर आपको, if you want to think about how you want to come up with a startup idea, what should be the guardrails, and he points out 5 ways to come up with a startup idea. First one is called a job close home. And then I love all the 5 points. I'll go one by one and we can go back in questions around how do you. So a job close home is exactly what we talked about for this postman example, right? So find an unresolved job in your own life. You guys are, most of you are developer, right? Are you seeing that, okay, is Confluence getting too painful? Is Jira being too painful? क्या मतलब कब से पड़ा हुआ है that those tools? Everybody I see when they have to write it on Confluence, the product guy will write some BRD subway and somebody will make some mess of it, right? So that is some problem which is just close to you, like, and most of the side projects starts with it. I was listening to a podcast by the Truecaller founder today. He was saying that Truecaller came out because he was doing a side project where his problem was he was getting suddenly it was the first time mobile phones he had picked it up in Stockholm, and he was getting a lot of spam calls. So he said, let me do a side project. He did something to stop spam call for himself, and the product started working well. He put it out in the market and people started downloading it. Now that's a very simplified version of how it creates business. Matlab, that's how stories are told. That's not how businesses are built. Most stories are you will hear in podcast for building businesses. Obviously, he would have done 10 more things, which we will touch up in the next slides. But the idea being the anchor place where you will start from is be observant around yourself. Is there something in your current work or processes which you are missing out? And then you will have to work upon that. कि अच्छा वहां से साइड प्रोजेक्ट शुरू करते हैं, then we'll work out and think about more things which you can do to create a business out of it. Then the second point is competing with nothing, and this is where the largest businesses actually come out. But as with anything in life, where largest thing come out, that's the toughest to pull off. So competing with nothing is about creating new category. There would be places where nothing existed in that category at all, and then suddenly somebody comes and creates something. Ola, Uber, all these are very very good example of that, right? Like there was nothing which was, most of the cities did not even have a car cab aggregator. We forget about it. Taxi service also, like at least in Patna or Calcutta had taxi services like many other cities. They did not have it, but they realized that this can be done. There are a lot of this cab drivers over there. There are a lot of this taxi aggregators there. We can just do it and can start. And this holds not only for tech products. If you look at, like the most money is made out in any particular market if you go and create a category. For the longest time, because Bain, when I was working with a lot of car companies and a lot of bike companies. And for the longest time, it was the idea India में तो छोटे कार ही बिकते हैं. And then suddenly Renault comes with a Duster, where he realizes that India's problem is actually that the roads are so bad that you need a lot of clearance. But at the same time, people do not have money and people need mileage, that they would not want to go for a full SUV. So suddenly, nowhere in the world this concept existed, but there India had a small compact SUV coming in. Or similarly, like suddenly India के अगर bike category देखोगे, everybody thought कि forever Splendor and all these guys will sell, because only thing that Indian customer needs is this high mileage thing. And then suddenly light bulb filled someone that no, the Indian people are going for fashion and jazzy things and other things as well, and they will want to go drive a premium bag. Somebody created Pulsar. That category did not exist. They created a new category, and this category dominated. That part dominated. So think about such categories. Do any such thing like which you see that the problem exists, but nobody has tried to even solve it. But suddenly, because of something, it's getting enabled now. Generally, this sort of things comes with a breakthrough technology. It's very difficult to suddenly create a category of something where there is not a breakthrough technology involved. And then that goes because दुनिया में ideas भरे हुए, people will go have all the ideas, until and unless you pick up a different technology which can create something substantially different. Creating a new category will be very very difficult. So we can go deeper into how do you create a new category, but definitely if you can create one, nothing like a like the outcome that comes from there. Workarounds and compensating behavior, this is the most easy one to pick because this is the most visible one to pick. So if you look at it currently, the entire the Khata book, Dukan Tech, and everything, although there are questions around their monetization, everybody knows that the small merchant uses WhatsApp to do five different things, which actually what WhatsApp is not intended to. So what happens in people's life, if you have a problem, वो घर में तुम्हारे टूल से भी होता है कि मतलब तुम्हारा अगर if you're not getting that khurpi to get your gardening, you'll go and pick up some other chammach or something and do the gardening, right? But chammach is not intended to do the khurpi's job. So that also happens with tech tools also, right? Because what will happen is that WhatsApp has been created to create what you call as to solve the problem of messaging. But now, if you see, messaging can be a system of record as well. Because most of us, we see that we go back to our WhatsApp to check अच्छा photo download किया था कि नहीं, ये यहाँ पे रखा हुआ है कि नहीं, वो यहाँ पे रखा हुआ नहीं. So if the same WhatsApp can be used as a system, many people use WhatsApp to take personal notes also, by the way. So if same system can be used to take used as a system of record, can that be elongated to take the SMEs to use it as a system of record? But wherever you see there is a workaround, there is obviously a case for a better product just pointed at that solution. So always think about, look at your aspas to figure out if there are people who are using some other random product to create or solve problems in their life where actually another product could have solved it better. So that this one I like the most because this one is the most basic or the easiest way to spot things. Yeah. Look for what people don't want to do, and that's where most of the SaaS companies comes in. If you can automate things, like I do not want to file my expenses sitting at the end of the every month, like putting all those receipts, taking the photos, That's where digitization comes. That's where automation comes. In any part of our life, there are work which we do not want to go to a CA to file our taxes. This tax filing procedure, clear tax will come up. So automation can make life better in so many places, and specifically look for those things which people do not want to do. And if you can just automate the thing out of it, then you create a product for sure. And this is very prevalent in B2B SaaS, because as you take out that workflow element, you increase efficiency, you reduce head cost, you increase efficiency, so the top line increases, you in down like take away cost elements, so the profitability increases. So always look out for what people like around you, in your office, in the other places in your life. People do not want to do that, and if you are can some way take it out, that will be a product, that will be a startup idea for sure. Unusual uses is a bit of a overlap with workarounds, but it's more nuanced in a way that some products you will start seeing people using it in a very different use cases, which is not even workaround. Like that workaround means very specific use case remains. Like the example which he gives in the books is very interesting. That there was a medicine for a headache which people were actually putting in cake because it had a lot of baking soda, and that was helping it make cake. So the guys who could not sell it as medicine converted it into a baking soda product or a cooking product, and then just sold it like that, and it became a huge category. So many this one actually exists where you can see some products, or you already have some product idea, it works better over there, and you realize that people, maybe you have done something for hackathon or something for side project or something, but people are using it for a very unusual ways, and then you shift to that and you try to solve very deeply on that use case, and that can create the product. So broadly, these five use cases, I'm happy to take the question at the end of it, but I find this framework very useful to how do I want to observe, and how do I want to keep my radar open to latch on to a very good startup idea. Or when I am working on the startup idea, can I then reverse these points and put it over there? Hey, is this something which is the unresolved job in my own life? Is this something which I am damn sure that people want to do, but nobody else exists as a solution right now? Or is this a compensating behavior somewhere? So just turn it around, put it, see that does it fit in any one of this? Is it solving one of these problems over there? And then you might find out that the idea is worth pursuing. Now, as I told you like earlier, also just getting onto an idea generally amounts to nothing. I me it's like बहुत ideas बनते हैं यार, मतलब मैंने भी बनाए हैं, आप लोगों ने भी बनाए होंगे. You have to move from there, and then build multiple things around it so that it can move into becoming a business, right? And that's where the entrepreneur comes in. Like when we evaluate startups, the first thing we evaluate most deeply is the entrepreneur. Does he have grit? Will he think through broadly? Like brilliant ideas are dimes a dozen here, you all are brilliant. Nobody will come up with a stupid idea. What you need to build after that is, first is product, as I talked about. The core is product, but it's not the only thing. You'll have to show that in creating that product, why are you guys the best team around? And if you are not, then you will have to find a complementary people. Where are the gaps? Get the ops guy, get the BD guy, and create the complementary team to have the entire team over there which could execute and take this product to function. You could be like, you if it's a very deep tech product and you are a business guy who has come up with the idea, you need a tech co-founder for sure. If you are just a tech co-founder and this has a consumer element or B2B sales element, a lot of it, then you definitely want to compensate yourself with a business co-founder. Then comes the go to market, and there are multiple ways to go to market, right? There is a consumer way of going to market. If you are in SaaS, there is bottoms up versus there is enterprise, there is versus SMB. What is that unique thing which will help you, and what are the unique pools of customer where you can go to, which can help you reduce the CAC and help you sell your product profitably? Many people, many times, we ourselves as a fund are product first company. We fund. We believe that A good product when made rightly with a good team that can sell itself. But we never underemphasize GTM or the GTM strategy. What it means that the product, when it gets into the hands of the people, they should be able to use it easily. But you will have to go and tell the customer that, hey, this cool solution exists. And how do you do that economically? That's very important. So think very difficult, very deeply into the go-to-market strategy. Like what will be the, and then there is this book called Traction. You can check out Traction. They talk very very deep into what are the different strategies you can use, and then you will try 10 different ones, and there is a couple of this distribution channel which will come out to be good for you. You should do one. And then finally, there should be a business model. When we talk about Khata Book, Dukan, and multiple others, couple of times the question will come out that what will be the business model? Will it be lending? Will it be SaaS? Will it be some other mode of commerce? What will it be? So it is important to at least have the vision. It could come up in the roadmap that when you actually want to double down on that business model, but at least the vision should be there that for how you make it. So when you go for fundraising, these are the 4 or 5 things that people will definitely ask you. What are the problem that you're solving? So how is the product? What does the product do? What is the team behind it? How will it solve it? Then what is the GTM? How will you distribute? How will you take it to the customer? And finally, given all that, what will be the business model? How will you make money? And because finally, every investor wants money. Like, wow, yeah, we do. So that's there. So last slide was just I had kept is what does it mean? When should I raise funding? How much should I raise? Bootstrapped from whom? These are all I know that questions which will come definitely to your mind. These are very very contextual. There are two ways of thinking about it. One is to optimize for valuation and go only when you need money. There is another school of thought which is like जब पैसा मिल रहा है उठा लो पैसा अच्छा ही होता है कंपनी को बढ़ने में हेल्प करता है so it is very contextual based on what company you are in and what way you want to grow. I'm more than happy to go deeper into use like particular cases and take up case studies over there. But my general principle, if you ask me, is to keep a buffer of at least 6 to 9 months, like 2 to 3 quarters, so that you have that peace of mind to create product and you have the peace of mind to run the team. If you get stretched on that, you will cut corners and you'll make products which are suboptimal. Whenever you are thinking about when, how should we bootstrap or not, and is it the right time to pick up funding or not? Maybe probably I would want to keep that part in mind. From whom is a question which you should like I see in India. I was working in Southeast Asia also, and I've now seen the US as well. Definitely, taking aside the gyan that you should just pick up people who can work with you. Obviously, if you are not able to raise much funding, जिससे पैसा मिल रहा है उससे पैसे उठाओगे. But if that is not the case, when you have multiple options, then the most important thing starts becoming that who actually wants to partner with you, right? Like there are 2 3 things people want to see in an investor. One is like their what is their intention, what sort of people are they, and then there is what is their capability. They have done these sort of things before or not. Are they very deep in their sector or not? If you get a mix, and then third is obviously are they networked or not? Can they open up your door or not? And network, I think every investor gets networked, like that's the nature of the job. But on the first two, I would say that I generally, as a founder, used to over-index on the intention part more because, frankly, the depth or the knowledge that is very very important. If both of them come, amazing. But depth and the knowledge you can find in the market. You will find mentors. But if you want a guy in the board who is helpful to you, who is as a nature who is a well-intended guy who does not want to do crap, and then that you do not want to be like knowledge mil jayega, but well-intended board member ka value is much higher than that. So that's all I wanted to mean. I wanted to keep it in half an hour. I think I went to 31 minutes. But opening up for question, I have shared my Twitter handle here. You guys can just add me on Twitter or DM me on Twitter. More than happy to answer over there. I have my mail ID as well. No question is a bad question. You can mail me any question, and I am open to all questions right now as well. And I can see that there are a couple of them over here. Uh, And so one which Neil has tried to answer as well, but I'll still pick it up. I think Royal Tomar has asked this question talking about Khata Book and Dukan. I have also seen startups like Bulbul which leverage videos for e-commerce, and I found that interesting. CAC is customer acquisition cost. Yes, there are a bunch of companies which are leveraging videos for e-commerce, and they are very interesting. There are large companies around that in China. If you think about it, that's in certain way we're always present in our homes as home shopping in our television. सबने देखा है there were Govindas of the world trying to sell us Ayurvedic medicine over there. So there are categories which can be created out of that. E-commerce will video on e-commerce will be an interesting space to see how that evolves. Obviously there are nuances. It's not as easy, but then that said, there is potential. Then I think Neil Agrawal was asking at Royal your question. Yes, they do. I know of some products that have raised pre-seed just on the basis of their strong business models and MVP. I did not get this question. Are you trying to say? Okay, I am on the feed. I should go on Q&A. That is the difference. Cool. The first question is how do we approach B2B customers regarding user interview for user market fit? Yes, this is very, very interesting, and this is generally a very good practice for you to do. Here, any sort of connects. That's where the founder hustle comes in. Any sort of connects that you have, that just use that. Go to your college network, go to your this thing, go to them and give it for free. Do a couple of them. You need to have user interviews are generally very very easy to get. People are ready to talk. कोई ना कोई network से निकल जाता है enough hustle मारोगे आ जाएगा. But when running POCs, you'll have to say that hey, some of your customers actually need to use this for B2B. That's very important. That's how you improve your product. For that, you'll have to convince them to use your product. Yeah, that's what become important. There is a question, are there any frameworks that exist you follow when you are in the ideation phase for a new product? That's the framework I told you earlier, right? That is it one of those 5 criteria that it's falling into. How is it a completely solved product? Obviously, there is one other element or sense check people put on the top of it, that is it a vitamin or a painkiller. That's always good to put over there. That are you doing, like, ask to your heart that are you doing startup for a startup sake, and you'll get the answer, and then you'll realize that यार केवल funding के लिए कर रहे हैं, deep enough problem नहीं है solve करने का. Then what's the point? If you realize that no, this is a deep enough problem, you want to solve it, there will be a product out there. So that painkiller versus vitamin thing is always I keep in my mind. Yeah. Rahul Tamal wanted to ask, do startups get funded without any traction just based on the founders and revenue? If yes, then how difficult is it? Yes, founders do get funded. Entrepreneur and the entrepreneur's ability to basically solve for a problem. One second. Entrepreneur's ability to solve for a problem, that is what will help you, get that sort of funding. So I'll give you an example of, for example, Nectar. When Nectar came to us, Abhijit, I know him for a long time. He was president of sales for Capillary, and he was trying to solve and create a sales product which helps salespeople sell more. Now, here is a guy who is a rock star salesman himself. He has seen all the problems that would come, and he wants to solve for that problem. He has chosen his problem very, very well. Now, I started working with him from when the idea was more like a services idea. We iterated. 2 months he spent with me researching the place, putting in the ideas and putting in the thought process, and then come up with every time with a better product and the better thinking. So that showed that this guy can evolve. So the bet was that here is a guy who understands the problem, who has the tech chops, who is ready to evolve and put in a lot of effort. Why would we back that? So that's the situation. If you can create, then that's where you can get pre-product, this thing funding only at the right at the time of MVP as well. There is a question from Royal again, which is on founder of Zerodha, Nitin Kamath, has told several times that bootstrapping has helped them a lot in making quick decisions. So, does getting funded come at the cost of freedom? Yes, it does come at the cost of freedom. Any investor would be lying if they say that that's not. That said, investors can be friend. They come with experience. I would like to think that थोड़ा दिमाग है मेरे पास भी. I can add some value with the right answers and the right guidance. So what happens with that is that like at the same time, if you see that you're a lone horse and you want to do it certain way, there is obviously the right or the so think of investor as a co-founder here. If you want to have one more person join you in your journey, now he is helping you with his experience. He's not working day to day with you, but he's putting the money on it. He will have his right to ask you questions around कि अच्छा तुम ऐसे कर रहे हो, but why don't you think of this way? Because I have seen it in 10 other companies. So that's the value add that he wants. But that definitely means that you cannot just keep going on doing yourself that same thing if you are just bootstrapped. So all like Nitin Kamath, whenever anybody asks me who's the most respected in my eyes, the founder in India, I take Nitin's word. But that said, how many bootstrapped, awesomely like scaled company are there in India? Because it is that much more difficult to pull off. But if you are confident that you can do it for the as an outcome for the founder, as well as at the speed of decision making, nothing beats bootstrapping. Yeah. Okay, what's your approach in transitioning to a VC from an entrepreneur? Okay, interesting question. What was the transition? The transition was here in as an entrepreneur. First of all, I was a failed entrepreneur. Then I was running operations for another company, but I was enjoying running operation for another company. The only thing which I realized was I was getting into a tunnel view where I was working on one sector, going deep into certain aspects of it. And what VC allows me to do is that uh, work and like engage with founders from so many different sectors, so many different spaces. Every day I interact with a person who's a brilliant guy who's thinking of a new problem in a very very new way, new approach, and that gives me energy. And that's what I where I decided that maybe yeah, let's why don't I become a VC and try to give it a shot. Is scalability matter in fundable product? Absolutely. It has to be scalable, otherwise a VC will not invest. See, the other thing to understand is that there are multiple types of investors, right? That there is VC, the normal Nexus, Sequoias of the world that you look at. There are other investors as well. For VCs that you talk about, the premium VCs and others, for them the the criteria is very simple. I will invest in 10 and I will want one or two at least to succeed because there is a very high mortality in among the startups. So I will invest in 10, then I will wish that there are two or three which will succeed, and this will succeed so large that it will take care of all my other investments. And for that to happen, that scalability matters. If it is with, and when I saying scalability, it's like $1 billion scalability is like a million, not $100 million scalability. For $100 million scalability, there are funds which are smaller funds who will put in, let's say, 1 or 2 million, and they think that in that life you can attain 100 million, and it becomes a very very high outcome. So definitely for the VC funds to get interested, scalability will matter. One of the most important criteria actually. So the next question is, how do you go from just having an idea to validating it and knowing for sure that this is something people need? See, whether this is something people need or not, you'll have to have an answer from before, at least some bit of conviction from before. What you'll do is that you'll design an experiment. What you'll do is that you'll go for, so for example, in Magic Pin, when we were doing, right, we had some idea that Magic Pin, this will work. What we did was then picked up a very small micro market. We picked up Delhi University. हमने बोला कि दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के स्टूडेंट को हम ये प्रोडक्ट बेचेंगे एंड हम वहां पर प्रूव करेंगे कि दिस प्रोडक्ट विल वर्क. So when you start selling at Delhi University campus and you start seeing that, hey, for 100 people, this product is working and it's validating and there is cohort, there is retention, everything is working. You do not need to spend so much money on it to say that this sort of thing can work out. And then after that, you go for funding, raise funding to say that I will replicate this into multiple such similar customer segments and see, because it's working in this small micro market, this will work in the other markets. So that's how I generally tend to approach. And even my startups, I say that, if you are picking up seed money, like let's say Nectar's case, if you had picked up speed money, or YOLO's case, go into a smaller market, prove your product market fit. If the product market fit is coming out in a smaller market, there is more likeliness that with the next growth capital, you will be able to pick it up to other market. Cool. So next question, sorry. Next question is, we recently launched our MVP for expense reimbursement app for SME for free and to test market needed and test market, and we have found some people even started using that app for employee jobs and activity tracking. Very interesting. Completely your question, your take, Ankit. Great question. This is exactly goes back to that framework. Like you solve for something else, and you see people are using it for something else. That definitely means it has a potential to solve for employee jobs and activity tracking. Now you will have to check out that which thing is it solving the deepest, and so I generally tell people to go see. There are two ways to solve these problems, tech solutions, right? One is a platform approach. Same platform, एक ही platform में there are 4, 5, 6 solutions, and people will pick up for the platform. Or there is a point of say this thing, point solution sort of an approach, where you are just saying that this is what I am solving very, very deep. So while you can have, let's say, SAP as an ERP, which is solving for all this you are saying, I'm taking an enterprise example. You'll have, let's say, point solutions like Airable or Coupa or others who are solving just for the expense management of this sort of solution. So now you have to think over here is that what deep things, and that will come out from talking to customers and observing customers. If you can get generally starting when you are small, having that one key feature or one core product element which is very, very clear hook which can get the customer over there, that is very important. So and go first deep into that, only then after that go broad. So if I were you, what I would do is that I will still keep focusing on the expense and reimbursement until and unless the answer is that nobody is using expense and reimbursement and they're just using this other two options. And I'll keep observing that what people are doing to use employee jobs and activity tracking. And maybe later, once you have reached to enough distribution using the expense and the reimbursement app, then you start putting in more and more feature and sort of, like the other good beauty of this will be that you can start monetizing by using a freemium model where you'll give one or two features for free and the other features you'll use to monetize. So that's how I'll say. I'm happy to take more questions on this. Feel free to mail it to me or DM me on Twitter. On benefit of time, I'm moving on to the next question right now. But it's a excellent problem to have, is what I'll say. Can you please define the series A, B, C? I can define it like the first funding is called seed, and then after that it's called series A, then it's called series B, series C. It's just a matter of progression. Frankly, it doesn't matter jack shit because you can. What matters is कि कितने पैसे आ रहे हैं और किस valuation पे आ रहे हैं. So people can call it A, B, or C. It can just keep changing. So in my opinion, it's more about the valuation and the money that you're getting. So the last two questions are, I think question is, do put in the right features in your MVP, most important feature, or should we add version 1 almost all features? As I told in the previous question to Ankit, I would rather put in the right features in your MVP and try to use the features where you plan to go deep first. And then you can have a product roadmap that, these 5-10 different features will come in later. Having all the features will just clutter it out. For you to raise funding, you'll have to explain also what does this product do, and to do that you'll have to make sure that what is the most important feature in your product. That's as clear as hell. Yeah. Do VCs have a bias for repeat founders and university bias? Repeat founders, yes, and university bias also, yes. I try to stay away from it as much as possible, but frankly, यार bias तो आ ही जाएगा ना. Like if somebody is a repeat founder, he has proven himself in doing something earlier, right? Like you are talking to me because I am in a certain position. यहीं पे कोई और random बंदा कुछ same चीज बोल रहा होता, you'll have lesser conviction on him on what he is saying, right? So the key question over there it comes is that can you ref check the guy? I will not put it as whether it's a repeat user or university bias. If there is some ref point for me to go back and ask someone कि अच्छा ये बंदा अच्छा है कि नहीं, because finally at the end of it, it all comes down to the entrepreneur. Like idea सब कुछ secondary है. अगर entrepreneur अच्छा है तो वो idea अच्छा ही सोचेगा. मतलब there is very less chance that a very super sharp guy will come up with a shitty idea. So अगर बंदा अच्छा है तो he will think about a good idea and he will execute also. Now the key question becomes that how do I identify the guy that इसने अच्छा किया है कि नहीं. Nobody comes to you and says यार मैं अच्छा नहीं हूँ. Now you have to identify. So you pick up cues कि क्या देख के मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि ये बंदा अच्छा है कि नहीं है. And what are the cues? इसने पहले कुछ काम किया है, वहां पे इसने how he has done it, right? Now it can be a repeat founders. Repeat founders get more like repeat founders get more, what do you say, press coverage and everything, or it can be a very good developer or very good like person, employee, or somebody who has worked up in a relevant position. So what I was talking about Abhijit, or let's say take the case of Yogesh, who's onshore is founder. He is an actuary. He is not a repeat founder, but he's an actuary. He was the youngest actuary in India. Insurance करने जाएगा तो he will get a preference because he knows his stuff, right? So it's an important question from the point that create those cues in yourself which tells the investor why you are the right guy. It could be because you are repeat founder, or it could be कि लाइफ में कभी तुमने मेहनत करके आईआईटी या आईएम में घुसे थे, या फिर लाइफ में कभी तुम मेहनत करके बिट्स पिलाने गए थे. अगर तुम वहां पर नहीं गए हो, then that can be for several different reasons. I could have fucked up that day just when I was doing that JE exam. I could have gone somewhere else. Then what will I have to do? That okay, life में एक बार मग गया है, let's do try to spend time on something else and put myself and prove myself on something else which will give a cue to the VC that I am a good guy. So if you are trying to be a founder, I would say right now, if you are a developer, try to be a that excellent developer that when the VC calls up a person, picks up some phone and talks about, let's say, XYZ, the answer comes out he's the best damn thing or to happen in that particular space and he's solving for that space. You'll get the same bhav as any repeat founder here. Do VCs have a bias for repeat founders and university bias? That I think is covered. Last question, adding to this, how can someone from a non-traditional background, how do you get your foot in the door? Exactly what I mentioned right now, yeah. I think what you have to do is that somewhere in your life, this I tell to my kid also, and this I tell to everyone in my life. Yes, somewhere in your life, you'll have to create a brand for yourself. Now, brand for yourself gets created by a couple of things. Either you can be a repeat founder, you can have gone to some universities, or you are good at something, right? Like you have done something. See, everybody says that Zuckerberg was a dropout. He was a dropout from Harvard. Everybody says that Bill Gates was a dropout. He was again a dropout from Harvard. But those are not the only things which creates a brand for you. I have had people who have gone, like, dropped out from very average college, so to say, in a traditional way of saying, but post that they have acquired so much knowledge on, by developing and being so good at what they do, that like they I will prefer to work with them over any other person coming from any other pedigree college. So all these things go into only one bottom line thing. How will you signal yourself as being that next best thing that can be there? If you cannot, then you keep working on that. Like, take part in, make some product which blows everybody off. Go to Twitter, go to Product Hunt, put it on Product Hunt, do all those sort of things, which will give signal that no, you have the mantle to put it on, and that's what matters. Cool. I think that's all the questions. You guys have been a great audience. I am close to 6 p.m. That's when I intend to end this discussion. As I mentioned, I am on Twitter. Just look me up. I keep sharing stuff over there, as well as I am very approachable there. If you DM me, I'm more than happy to answer over there as well. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you, Devfolio and Denver and Shakti for hosting me. So I can see Denver.
Hey,
Yeah.
Anand, thanks a lot for making the time to do the session. And I think our attendees kept you busy with their questions. And
They did. It was a very nice audience. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah. So, we have always been very bullish on, the potential these kind of young developers and builders have, because I'm sure you'll agree now the rules have changed, and what it takes to build great products, and we are also working um, to try and figure out, like, how we can get more and more great products, world class products to come out of India specifically, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely appreciate the support of people like you, who are in this with us.
Absolutely. No, my pleasure. My pleasure. Happy to support in whatever way. I think a lot of this last question gets answered by things like InOut also, right? Like, well, you prove yourself in this forums, and then that becomes your entry to the next
Uh,
thing. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Denver. Thanks for
yeah,
hosting us. Thank you. All right.
thanks Anand.
All right. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
bye bye.